Um, so thank you to both our panelists and to our attendees, people coming in. We appreciate everybody's time, and I don't want to take too long to kind of kick us off and get the actual presentation started. But I do want to just go around the room quickly and do brief introductions. So your name, what chapter you're from, and where your chapter is located. That would be very helpful to start off with. So I'm going to save the, well, let's go through. We'll start with John.
Sure. John Hannan, and I am board president for Bedford Audubon, located in northern Westchester and eastern Putnam counties.
Great. Loretta, would you like to go next?
Sea Valley Audubon Society in Rochester, and I'm the membership chair.
Awesome. Dennis.
Dennis Riordan, President, Menunkatuck Audubon in the New Haven area.
Peggy.
Hi, Peggy Lauber, President of North Fork Audubon on the east end of Long Island.
Laura, you're next on my screen.
Hello, I'm Audubon's Network Engagement Manager for New York and Connecticut. Nice to see you all.
Mike.
Hi, I'm Audubon's Vice President for the Connecticut and New York region.
Doug.
I'm Doug Bloom, Vice President and Field Trip Chairman for Bronx River Sound Shore Audubon and Eastern Lower Westchester.
Thank you. Jim, good to see you.
Yeah, hi. Jim Brown, I'm Conservation Co-Chair, South Shore Audubon Society. We're South Shore of Long Island in Nassau County.
Nice. Ben.
I'm Ben Oko on the Conservation Committee of the board.
Daphne.
Hi, I'm Daphne. I'm the Office Administrator for Audubon, Connecticut, and New York.
Yay. And I think that's everybody but me. Susan O'Handley, Delaware at Seago Audubon Society in the Cooperstown, Oneonta area. So I think what I'd like to do is start with each of the presentations. Jennifer Wilson Pines was scheduled to come first, but she was on the road on her way home. She'll be logging in shortly. I'm just going to shift her down on our schedule internally. So Dennis, would you like to go first and introduce your project and tell us a little bit about it?
Sure.
So I think what we'll do, just to give everybody a heads up, we'll go through each of the presentations first, and then we'll basically have questions and answers after each of the programs, and we can kick off from there to any further discussions. So just grab a note paper or something to jot down any questions as we go through from here. Thanks.
I screwed myself up here.
Oh, are you looking for the play button or the view?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna start screen share again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got that?
Yep.
Okay, so here we go. This is what this is about. With this goal in mind. So John Hannan hooked us up with an organization in Costa Rica. And it's in the southmost part of Costa Rica, in the middle of the forest. Finca Canteros Environmental Association. They've been in business for about 6 or 8 years with a Canadian woman starting it up with, they've got 3 pillars that they talk about: forest landscape restoration. This is an old cattle pasture that they're rehabbing. And they've engaged the community in growing plants that they put out there in the forest and take care of. And you can see some of the growth here, but the most spectacular is this. 2019, they planted the hillside you see on the left, and 5 years later, substantial growth. The second pillar is birds. And again, they're engaging youth with Bird Sleuth International, which is a Cornell program that's not available to us because it's Bird Sleuth International, but it engages kids in birding activities. They do night walks there with the local community. There are a lot of women-oriented programs that they do. And this is another area that they've been working on reestablishing the forest, and they've been doing bird counts each year to see what the results of the reforestation are. They also have a modus station, and they do bird banding. And the bird banding also includes modus tags. And the third pillar they have is gender. They're really interested in working with the local women. And one of their components is women committed to the earth. They have a women-run tree nursery and women leaders of nature. They're really focused on engaging the local community and working in that way. So what are we doing? We just paid Low Tech in Canada for 28 modus tags that are going to be brought down to their facility and put on birds during the winter while the birds are down there. You can see the tag on this bird with the long antenna. And what we're going to do is see where they go. So our project is working with them in the modus tags. And the credits for the photos are here.
Thank you, Dennis. Jennifer, are you ready on your end? And feel free to introduce yourself, your chapter, and where you are geographically.
Okay. And I'm not seeing slideshow.
Is it on-
So Jennifer, click on slideshow there in the top bar. It's one of the choices: home, insert, draw, design. Keep going across to slideshow. Then you'll see.
It's blocked by the
Oh, by the
this-
Zoom panel?
You can go down to
move
the
that.
bottom.
Yeah.
There,
Jennifer,
okay, I got it.
Move.
Yep.
She got it.
Okay.
Team effort.
So Jennifer Wilson Pines with North Shore Audubon Society. And we've been working with several groups down around Iquitos, Peru, which is in the Amazonian Peru. It's sort of off the beaten tourist track. And so the four organizations are the Morpho Institute, the Fundación Los Amigos de la Naturaleza, the Amazon Binocular Project, and Canapac, Peru. So how we got started. The gentleman in the middle here, in the top picture is Jordan Wolf. He's a member of our chapter, and he's a high school biology teacher in New York City. And the Morpho Institute has a program where they train North American educators. They go down there, they learn about the Amazon firsthand, they get trained, and hopefully they can apply this in their curriculum when they go back. So he'd been a couple of times, and he was going, and he was asking for donations, and then we said, well, is there anything that the chapter could do? And he said, well, they need binoculars. So that's how we got started. Our choice of binoculars, because these were going to be used by a wide age range of people, and they couldn't be too cheap because of the they're in the tropics, they're subject to high humidity and heat, so they had to be be fairly decent. We settled on the Nikon Pro Staff 3, which also has the plus of having a interpupillary distance that'll close down to 55, which is about an 8-year-old kid. So they could be used by most people. And that pictures, they've been very good about thanking us for whatever contributions we've made, and we get to see the stuff in use. So we decided, because we received a nice bequest, we decided that we would dedicate part of that to continuing this commitment and helping out with other stuff. Now that top picture, that red suitcase was mine, and I donated. That red suitcase has been to Italy, it's been to China, and now it's reached its final destination in Peru, where apparently people like that kind of thing. They use them as like a dresser because it zips closed and it keeps out the bugs. So in addition to the binoculars, also the other things that people are asked to bring down are school clothing, school stuff, and all kinds of things that we were able to also help with. And that's Canapac, Peru, helps furnish things to some of these small villages that are scattered throughout that region. These three people are the Fundación de la Naturaleza, and they are guides that work with Morpho. They do a lot of the training of the educators, and we've worked with them. I don't know if you can see it if your bar is over the picture, but the gentleman on the right has a nice Nikon 950 camera. So, because we've been sending binoculars for several years, and we asked, is there anything else you want? And they said, well, we could use a new camera because they don't last very long down here, which allows them to continue to take pictures and make videos, and, helps with the education process. And these are some of the pictures they took with the new camera. So one of the other things they do is that they go into classrooms and they do education with kids. And this is one of the projects that they've been working on. And then they take them outside. It's a nice quote that about how using binoculars and being able to see something closely makes a huge difference in people's perceptions of the world around them. It opens up a whole new viewpoint. And they also started a mural project in Iquitos, and these are both in schoolyards. So with all this native and non-native, because I don't think the pigeons are native down there either. Meanwhile, back up here, we are reaching out to the Hispanic community. There's a local Hispanic festival that we participate in, and so these are all the people that have made this possible. One thing that last year we applied for a large grant because the Fundación Amigos proposed to us that they would like to do a native plant initiative, working with a native plant nursery down there and to help plant some native plants around some of the villages, because, you know, a lot of them have been deforested for farming, and we weren't successful last year, but we're going to try it again this year. Sorry. The chapter, we gave them $100 because they have to like get boats and things to reach some of these villages, to go out and talk to the villagers and find out how receptive they are and what kind of plants they are interested in. And they just got back to us with some of that. So we'll be refiling that grant this year and hoping that it'll work this time. And that's it.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was great. We'll go on over to John from here. We're a little ahead of schedule, so feel free to take your time.
And now,
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I can't see over the cat.
Dark cats.
okay, just asked for sharing.
There you go.
Okay. And I believe this is, there we go. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Wonderful. So, as we said earlier, Bedford Audubon is my chapter. And just for anybody who doesn't know me, I used to work for Audubon, Connecticut. And way back in the dark days, we started the international program, and Mike and I were bunkmates in one of the first trips for the executive directors of all the Eastern Coast states to see what the international program was going to be. So I've been gone back since then, and then I worked for BirdLife International and retired last year, and now I'm going to be the evangelist trying to get all the chapters to do international work. So first couple slides I'm going to go through real fast because I think almost everybody on this call probably is well versed. Why would we do international work? Well, more than half of our North American breeding birds are migratory and spend probably more than 50% of their lives in Latin America. They make up the ecosystems of those countries and our country and Canada. And so if we're going to protect and preserve them, we need to share the responsibility for the conservation of what Dennis was mentioning and full life cycle conservation. We also probably all know that the sad truth is, due to buildings, agricultural and land use, and the general spread of humanity, we're impacting birds severely, and more than 2.9 billion birds probably have disappeared since 1970, and steep declines in many, especially grassland species and the likes. So where can chapters start, given that this sounds like a massive and onerous task? And for Bedford Audubon, we want to be aligned with the National Audubon's 5-year strategy, the flight plan. It's broad enough, wide enough, with the goal of conserving 3.7 billion acres across the Americas, that pretty much anybody can find the type of habitat they want to be part of. And more than likely, you can find some bird that connects to your chapter and many others to help work on. We want to support projects that are promoting ecological sustainability, empowering communities, both here in the US and in the partner countries. We think it's easiest to link with the two big initiatives that National Audubon has joined with the consortium of other BirdLife, which is the global partnership and all of the different partners across the Americas. Conserva Aves is currently, and it keeps on getting larger, looking to protect just under 10 million acres of key habitats from Mexico down into Chile. The America's Flyway Initiative is a growing project that is all the way from the north to the south. And once again, both projects are looking at priority habitats, key species, priority species, and full life cycle conservation, and bringing various habitat and conservation tools, empowering the communities and making them able to manage those habitats for themselves. So that's the kind of project. And when Dennis asked me about for instance, in Costa Rica, Lily Briggs, who with her husband, who's Costa Rican, has started a project. They're part of Conserva Aves. They're working both to empower communities, but also providing data through Modus and their banding station. So those are the kinds of projects we're looking to seek out and to support. Bedford Audubon got started back in 2014. We were part of the International Wood Thrush Project, which was started by Audubon and Smithsonian Migratory Bird Institute. So we were putting GPS tags on wood thrushes that were nesting on our sanctuary and then trying to recapture and track where they had gone. It turned out that our wood thrushes were going into the northeastern forests of Nicaragua. And for a little while, we were able to support some of that work through ABC. They had a birdscape project going there. Currently, the political climate in Nicaragua is such that it's really pretty much impossible for in North American groups to work in there. So unfortunately, that project can't continue. So what are we doing now? Well, we got a grant to help us get this started, one of the chapter collaboration grants. So at the local level, we're really trying to build the understanding and the awareness amongst our own membership and the community at large in why you should be doing cross border work. So from trip reports of our members going down to webinars to lectures, in-person events with international partners. We had the CEO of Aves Argentinas come and talk to members who are very involved in bobolink work, because that's where the bobolinks end up, in the pampas of Argentina. We've been able to we've translated a lot of our materials into Spanish and working with local community center groups that are working with first generation folks in our communities. We've had groups of predominantly Ecuadorian and Guatemalan folks coming, and we have made presentations to them, done bird walks with everybody from elders to their kids, so that we're making the link and people are feeling, A, that they know more about the conservation that goes across border and that they can be part of it. And then also that they can feel that welcome at our sanctuaries and bring their own families and the likes. And then in the left corner, or the right-hand corner, I guess it is, we've also done some creative stuff like having member photo exhibits. The current one is called From Near to Far, and it's a photo exhibit of birds that our members have taken from all across the Americas. And we've had it in 4 different libraries in our chapter area, and we always have a lecture as well about international conservation. So it's another way of bringing in other people on the photography side. we're doing international birding trips, but we're not just going anywhere for any birds. We're picking places where project partners are. So Argentina, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama. The group meets with the local partner, the local conservation organization, so they can understand what people are doing there, how they were working together. We've brought financial support. We've done some volunteer support, monitoring and the like with them. I'm looking to try to see if we can get a team that'll go down to Panama for their hawk watch. So they'll see, instead of a couple thousand birds like they do up here, a couple million. So there's all sorts of ways in which we can bring people in. But once again, picking the partners who are doing conservation through Conserva Aves or America's Flyways, habitats that are strategic, that relate to priority species that we have here in New York. Cerulean, Canada warbler, I don't think is on the New York list, but is a priority species, and birds such as that. And then we've also been supporting chapters. Dennis mentioned it. Peggy will talk about it. Sharing our experience with international partners, going and making presentations or webinars, and then helping connect chapters with potential partners, thinking through, once again, what are our species of conservation priority, where do they go, and who might be doing that work. Some of the places, Aves Honduras in Honduras, Dennis mentioned Finca Canteras. We were in Panama. I think there's a lot of potential with Aves Argentinas because of both Broadwing, Swainson, and not Meadowlark, Bobolink. And the ideas and how to support that include supporting an IBA or a private reserve that has species of concern, assisting in monitoring, donating funds, and then visiting the partners in person. And most people on this call probably know, but for those who are listening to the recording, what will you experience? You may end up at a banding station. You may end up out in Colombia's grasslands, where I was for a couple weeks with the Calidras folks. We were staying out in a reserve where every morning 20, 30 jabiroos just walked in front of the room I was staying at. You might be out in the Pampas helping to band. There's everybody down there is doing exactly what we're trying to do. They're sitting in rooms, filling out all the sheets on the wall, making a conservation plan. They've got international festivals with youth who are like the students in Honduras that I worked with, who are in the lower picture there, are just fabulous. They want to get out and get the kids in the farmlands all engaged in conservation. You may talk to an expert like the woman who's in the pink shirt, Flor, with Aves Argentinas. She's a postdoc. She probably is one of the people who knows the most about the saffron cow blackbird, or her second in charge, Victor, who's completely self-taught. It's an amazing grouping of people across the Americas, all sharing what we all love, and that's the desire to protect and preserve the birds and their habitat. But if you're just sitting in your living room wondering, I don't know whether I can do all this, you can still do stuff, because you can always go to the supermarket and buy shade-grown coffee or responsibly sourced chocolate or bird-friendly beef. So there's ways in which we can get people to do things who say, oh, I'll never go to another country. I don't want to get involved in all of this high-level stuff. So I think equally important for us is that our chapters promote all of the everyday actions that we all do. Going into the supermarket, what do we purchase? Do we buy that cheap coffee that is sun grown and is destroying habitat, or do we spend an extra dollar or two and buy coffee that is allowing migratory birds to have a forest? So I think that's equally important, and we're working hard on that as well. And then, in closing, we need everyone, as well as a lot of work to be done, and we got to spread the word. So hope this was fun.
Thank you, John. That was awesome. It's just so good to see, and I know I've reached out to you as well for some guidance on some potential plans for our chapter. Let's pop over to Peggy for that program, and then we'll finish up with questions and answers and discussions for any of our panelists from today.
So if John, if you're the evangelist, I'm one of your acolytes. So a year ago, I didn't know John. A year ago, actually 2 years ago, we learned that we were going to be bequeathed some money. So like with Jennifer's chapter, our exploration started with having a sum of money that we needed to oversee how we were going to spend it. So, by the way, my parrot is acting up here, so he's definitely craving some attention. So I might have to move him. Anyway, okay. So, so knowing that we were going to be getting this money and that I was going to be the one responsible for seeing how it was administered, I set up with our board. I set up a brainstorming session, and we talked about what we could do with it. In the meantime, I had read an article in Living Bird magazine. It was the fall 2024 issue about research that has been done, a report that has just come out about narco deforestation and the devastating effect on overwintering migratory birds that breed or pass through in our region. And they were talking about some of those birds that John mentioned, where over 50% of them are spending their winters in Central America, and their populations are being devastated. And they listed several birds in the article. Among them were the golden-cheeked warbler, the Philadelphia vireo, chestnut-sided warbler, yellow-bellied flycatcher, and Baltimore oriole. And the Baltimore oriole really got my attention because, I mean, the whole article got my attention, but because Baltimore orioles breed in my own backyard, and it's a bird that I know that where I live on Long Island, everybody knows what a Baltimore oriole is. And I thought, wow, okay, how can we call attention to the plight of all these birds, maybe by identifying one that people really, the wider community, non-birders would know this bird as well. So I thought, how can we work with somebody in Central America? I really didn't know where I was going with this, but through our brainstorming session, we set up a committee, and the committee is comprised of board members, but also we reached out to our local community. So we have on our committee non-birders, we have local birders that aren't on our board. We have a Latina woman, so she's bilingual and is interested. So we tried to get the community involved, and so we've been working together, and we just started reaching out to people. So I started by reaching out to Amanda Rodewald, who was the lead researcher on that study, and she led me to Anna Lello Smith from Wildlife Conservation Society. We just started talking to different people, and then I reached out to Laura McCarthy, and Laura suggested I talk to John Hannan. And also, I can't remember if it was John or Anna, I think that both of you recommended I talk to Steve Albert from the Institute for Bird Populations. So it was really interesting to just kind of talk to different organizations and people and kind of get a feel for what are some things that we could do. So ultimately, John put us in touch with Oliver Comar from Aves, Honduras, which he had mentioned that organization earlier. And so our group felt that, okay, here's an organization that maybe, we knew that we wanted to do something long-term. We didn't want to just spend some money this year, get some stuff and like walk away. We knew that whatever we did, we wanted it to be a long-term commitment. And so therefore we needed to partner with an organization that was also hopefully going to be successful and we could grow together. So So ultimately, Oliver happened to be up in the States, and he actually came to visit, as did John, and he met in person with our committee, and we were really excited about working with him. And so we have not made a commitment as yet, but what Oliver suggested and what we have decided to do is make a site visit. So we're very excited about this. So at the end of January 2026, 12 of us are going to go down to Honduras. And the idea here is Oliver suggested that what he's trying to do there is set up a network of private reserves or landowners that are considering turning their property into a private reserve. And so we're going to visit the different preserves and get an idea of like, what is it, what are their needs? I mean, they've already made several suggestions about what they need, but we thought by going down there, we might get ideas, maybe even things that they hadn't even thought of, So basically that's where we're at with the whole project. We're going to go down there. We're going to see what it's all about. And then also in the process of setting this all up, we thought we would really like to get a young person. Obviously, we want to get young people involved down there, but we also want to get young people involved here. So we said, let's find someone and who could potentially, we could offer a scholarship to go down on this trip with us and who could write a case study. So we have been very fortunate, and I see she's just joined this call. Mary Birchie, who is a graduate of SUNY Stony Brook. She's a young wildlife biologist, and we connected with her, and she is going to come along on the trip, and she is working on a case study for us at the whole, how we're doing this, how we're exploring it, what we're going to do, and then of course eventually we got to do it. So the only money that we've actually spent so far is on Mary being able to go on this trip with us. So, but obviously we have to be spending more money. So we're really excited. And then obviously our goal is is training, education, all the wonderful things that you have all mentioned so far that you're doing. We're going to look into all those and see what we can do. I thought it might be interesting. Let's see if I can share my screen just to see the let's see if I can do this. I can do this. Nope. Oh yeah. Can you see? No, you can't see.
Not yet, but
let's see. What do I need to do here?
Okay, so the green up arrow button for share will open up a pop-up screen, and you select which window you want to share, and then you click the blue share button at the bottom.
Do that.
Or just double click on.
Okay. I didn't know you could double click.
Okay, open system settings. Oh, it's looking complicated. All right, I don't want to take your time. But basically, I was just going to show you the proposal from Aves Honduras, and we're calling it a sistership tour, our visit down there, because it's all about a sistership. It's all about connecting with communities there, and obviously they see it that way as well. So they just sent us a proposal talking about the different sanctuaries. And we have a whole itinerary that they have set up for visiting them. We're going to be traveling all through the country, and then they're just talking about the different things that they need: funding for training and education, operations, research, habitat conservation, of course, exchanges between, possibly sending people from there up here to do internships and vice versa, and just a long-term alliance. And I want to say that already, even though we haven't even gone on this trip yet, everybody that our committee, as we talk about it, we've already been getting some local press about it, about what we're planning to do, and we've already received another $10,000.
Oh my God!
Nice.
In a donation. We haven't even gone on the trip yet, so we are fully confident that if we're able to set up this successful partnership, that it's going to fund itself. And we figured that the money that we have, we want it to last for 3 years. And then at that point, if it's a success, we feel we will have no problem raising whatever money will be needed for, however we want to expand at that point. So that's where we're at. We're in the infancy, we're in the honeymoon stage, but we're super excited. And my bird has just jumped right onto my screen here, so gotta go. So thank you.
Well, that's beautiful, Peggy. And if you want to email me that document, I can post it with the recording.
Okay.
So that would work too. Okay, so Mary, since you came in kind of towards the kind of when things were going on, would you like to come on screen and introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from. We know that you're working with the North Shore chapter, but maybe a little bit about yourself, just
Yeah,
as an
hi,
intro.
I apologize. I'm in my office right now and the sun is like directly on my face. I'm
All
gonna
good.
move. So my name's Mary Birchie. I'm originally from Southold, Long Island, but I'm currently living in Rhode Island. I actually work for U.S. Fish and Wildlife as a shorebird biologist, specifically with the piping plover and the American oyster catcher. But I've been really invested in a lot of stuff, particularly on the North Fork. I grew up there and I love it. And I'm really excited to see more people getting excited about preserving it and trying to find new ideas and new ways to get more people involved.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's nice to have you here today. Does anybody have questions for any of the presenters that want to jump in with a question? Don't forget to unmute your microphone.
John.
Yeah, I have I guess a few questions of John. I noticed that you put up the map that Audubon has certain areas in Latin America that are most are being planned for the future and so on. I noticed that there was nothing in Brazil. I was wondering why, and there was a small amount in Argentina on the map. And I was wondering, is that the bobolink area in Argentina, and then why? It doesn't seem like we're doing anything with Brazil, for example. That was lacking, it seemed, of the map.
Mike may have more updated information than I, but basically my understanding from Aurelio Ramos, who now is the vice president in charge of our national Audubon's international, it's now called Audubon Americas department, it's a function of how much cash there is to there's a desire, and I know that in Montreal, my good friends and colleagues from Save Brazil were there, and they're in dialogue with Aurelio about the possibility of work occurring in Brazil. And there's been some very preliminary discussions in Argentina, but Mike may have more up-to-date information than me.
Ben, I saw you come off mute. Do you want to say something?
Well, yeah, I mean, we heard that Conservative Office is going into Brazil. They have money now and they're going to expand and start a whole program there. And they're also expanding somewhere else, which I can't remember. But Brazil is now on their radar and they're planning. They have funding now to do that. That's my understanding.
And I was just going to add that the map that John showed was put together by Audubon staff, the science team, and the conservation practitioners from across the organization as a focus area for our current strategic plan about the landscapes where we think it's a priority for us to be working. So based more on where the birds are than our migratory species than on funding stuff.
John, a question. If we wanted you to come down to our chapter and do a somewhat of a program on this next year, is it something you would do?
Always happy to come down and see you, Doug. Not a problem. Can't do it in February.
It'll probably be for next season because we got stuff through May already. So
good. Yeah, we can talk offline, but happy to do anything you need.
Okay.
John, I was going to ask you, do you have a template, like when you do a program for like general public on our migratory birds and their full life cycle and the need for conservation? Is there a template program that you use for a PowerPoint for that? And would you be willing to share that as a chapter resource?
Yeah, I think so. And I'd probably want to run it by Laura and Kim. So it's got all the proper Audubon branding and
Attributions?
suggestions. But yeah, some of what you saw today was a hybrid of what I usually do, and Peggy and Dennis have been bored by my jokes and anecdotes, so there it totally exists, and happy to do that.
Okay, that would be awesome. It would be great as a resource, I think, for people to use to bring more awareness and maybe use it as a jumping off point for programs and projects that they might like to begin.
Right.
I also had a question for Dennis, and this may be for others as well, might know the answer to this, but with the MODIS tags, those are the nano tags, correct? Like
Right.
I know we've worked on golden eagle monitoring, and we had GPS units that were solar powered. So they transmitted for as long as they had power and they had a data connection, and we get that data dump back whenever they entered a zone where they had cell service. With MODIS tags and the nano tags, and especially those really teeny tiny ones that are used for smaller birds, how do you, like, I think I understand they're programmed. So like, because they have to have a finite little power supply that probably doesn't last terribly long. Like, do you program them to turn them on and off at certain times, or do they transmit constantly until they run out of power and then that's it?
I don't know.
Um, I I can jump in, and I'm sure Mike probably can tell much more than what my small cocktail conversation level of knowledge is. But when I was in Nicaragua, we were doing Louisiana water thrush, and small tag, and you turned on the battery the morning that you were going out to capture the birds and tag them. And in the case of the water thrushes, those batteries were only going to last about 3 months. You can get heavier units that the batteries will go longer than that, but once again, you're working within the confines of what the weight of the bird is. The what you put on the bird can only be a certain percentage of the body weight of the bird. So, Mike, am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, but I think the technology has improved a little bit. I think they're getting more than a year out of the small tags now.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, because I had heard somebody had told me that you can actually program them to turn on and off at different times, so to make them last longer for when
That's
you need
true.
to collect the data, but I have no concept of how that would work. I
That's
probably
not,
don't really need to know, but I'm curious if anybody had experience with that.
you can program them to go on and off. And I'm not sure what the size of the nano tag on this particular American kestrel is, but the same American kestrel pinged the Menunkatuck Tower at the Sound School in October 2024. That was the second bird that pinged our tower. It pinged it again last month, a week later than 2024. So it's over a year.
Yeah, at least a year. Okay, thank
Um,
you.
I wanted to put Mike on the spot. We had a we had a meeting this morning where we talked about these same issues in terms of how we wanted to pursue hemispheric conservation as a as an entity, and we didn't reach firm conclusions, but we had a couple of general ideas. Mike, do you want to share them with this group?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago we had a board meeting, and Dennis, Susan, and Ben know that, where we invited Aurelio Ramos to come and speak, to give an overview of Audubon's strategy in Latin America and the Caribbean, and also to we asked him the question, okay, so if the New York and Connecticut program staff, board, chapters were to collaborate with Audubon Americas to support your strategies and your partners, what are your ideas for what we could do? So he did present 3 ideas. He presented ideas in Belize with about 100,000 acres of new, sounds like protected areas where they want to do some habitat work, possibly regenerative agriculture work, and do some monitoring to follow the results over time to see how the birds respond to that. He also suggested there was a need for monitoring both MODIS and recording units, autonomous recording units at Conserva Ave sites in Mexico and Panama. I think there were 14 sites he highlighted. We were talking about, using wood thrush as a focus. So he was primarily thinking about that. And then the last strategy was collaborating on the community building side of it, the people side of it, through collaborations with our centers in Connecticut and New York, and doing things to get people involved, doing things to build community, working with schools, those kinds of things. So some of that work is happening already. And our conversation today was, which of his ideas do we like the best? We like them all. We have questions about some of the details of the habitat work. What exactly does he mean by regenerative agriculture? How does that work? How does he see us assisting? Is he looking for partners who can bring money? Is he looking for partners who can go down there and put up MODIS towers? Those kinds of questions. So I'll follow up with him for more details, but there'll probably be something emerging from that. And as John knows, and others, there's also a sort of parallel thing developing for all of the partners that Audubon is working with in Latin America and the Caribbean to identify project needs of various kinds and look for chapters that are interested in helping out with those needs. So there'd be like a matching kind of framework set up that chapters can explore to see if there are potential partners, potential projects that they're set up to help with. Did I do justice to that, John and Laura?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the only thing that I would add is that we in our discussion we focused on the need to have the conservation driven outputs from the activities we did, and to try, as we generally do, to define what we hope to accomplish. And my own personal thing is that if we could somehow coordinate this vision, we would have greater impact than if we splinter it off into 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 different kinds of activities. The end of the day, the story of this is what we, the chapters, the centers, and the state people did, and this was our vision, and this is what we accomplished, would be a spiffy story.
I'll jump off from there for just a quick second. One of the things that we had talked about at the onset of some of these conversations was to see if we could find sponsorship to build out some of the MODIS infrastructure in the Central and South America areas where there's just a lot of void zones. Like if you look today at that MODIS map, you know, like North America is pretty good, South America is pretty sparse. So I think one of the things that Dennis and I are going to put together for chapters is just to see if we can have chapters send like a $300 contribution towards Modus Tower infrastructure wherever it's needed. You know, like somebody can designate, maybe through Aurelio, where they can designate like where those should go for the most impactful placements, and like start that process in making that happen, and just do that, I think, before the end of this year. So
Yeah,
I think
a
it's a
lot of
good investment
chapters.
for chapters to make, and it splits that cost up and can maybe add an extra 2 or 3 survey points to that infrastructure. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, a lot of chapters would be hard pressed to fund a tower, but they could fund part of a tower. So if we got a $200 or $300 or investment from the chapters in the 2 states, that would be enough to put up 2 or 3 towers.
Yeah, and maybe that's something we can do every year. You know, I mean, I don't know. John, thank you for coming in. I know you're coming in towards the end, but if you want to introduce yourself, what chapter you're with, and geographically where you're from. I did record the presentations, so you've missed those. So we're in discussion phase and question answer, but the recording, I'm gonna do a watch party next Monday at 7 p.m. So
Thank you.
you
Yeah,
can
I'm
come
John
back
Turner
and see
with
that.
Four Harbors Audubon Society, which is one of the 7 chapters on Long Island and North Shore of Brookhaven Town. The northern half of Brookhaven Town, as well as Smithtown, is the charter area that we are in. And I'm sorry I missed that. I had just another Zoom and just had to deal with that. And I've got another Zoom at 4 o'clock. So
Yep.
zoomy.
That's why we're recording. We're trying to make it easy for everybody to watch.
Isn't
Any
Zoom
other
wonderful?
any other questions or discussion? Jim and Laura.
Yeah, just I guess 2 quick questions. One for Jennifer. You mentioned that you got a grant. I was, just curious as to where you got it from, where it was. And Peggy, I was wondering if your trip to Honduras, I might have missed something. Is it going to emphasize? Do you hope it's going to emphasize the Baltimore Oriole in some way when you?
Yes,
Is that?
I should
Oh,
have.
good. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what we decided to do is we were calling ourselves the Baltimore Oriole Committee. Again, just because by focusing on the, from a PR standpoint, especially here in the Northeast, that it's something that I feel the community can relate to, whether they're birds or not. But we'll focus. We kind of picked out 3 birds: the wood thrush, or the American oyster catcher. Mary had just been to a conference on American oyster catchers, and you know that they're in decline and they are wintering there. But we're not holding ourselves to those birds. We're gonna, we're focused on wherever the mate is. So, but we just thought it would be good to kind of make it easy for people to understand by identifying the one bird. But.
So, Jim, we applied for the Audubon, the large grant.
Oh, okay.
And we did not get it. We got some good feedback. So I said, we're going to try it again now, basically.
Okay.
And hopefully that'll come through. The other funding that we used is we received a nice bequest, and we had a committee to decide what to do with it, and we've decided that it was big enough that we could spend it out over like 10 years and spend like 5,000 or 6,000 per year.
Wow. Thanks.
Yeah, that we came to that same conclusion, like not to think about where we're just going to dump money in, but like to really have it stretched out for long term.
That is beautiful. I love this. We're we're looking at kind of a working lands program with farmland and grassland regions in our area, and trying to see if we can connect with a partner location in South America. But there's a lot for me to learn. I've already been in touch with John, and he's given us some good guidance, and I have spoken with a couple of college professors in our area to get some guidance and input from them as well. And my head is spinning because there's like, it's just what started out as like, oh, just a simple little idea is now like, this is a really big project. And needs money. So there's all sorts of questions. So I think year one, we're just gonna learn as much as we can, implement something simple and straightforward just to make it manageable, and then look at 2027 for something bigger.
And Mike, when I was talking to Susan, I thought Audubon New York had a manual or a handbook for landowners in grasslands, or and I couldn't find it on the web. Do you all, or does Vermont still have one?
Somewhere, we just revamped the whole website, so it sometimes can be challenging to find materials that were previously on there. But yeah, somewhere that exists. Also, Massachusetts Audubon had a lot of really good information about grassland management of different kinds.
I'll see if I can track that down for you, John.
Oh, great. Shoot it straight to Susan. That's
Yeah, you
I'll
can
see if I
send it
can
to
track
me.
I'll see if I can track that down, Susan.
Thank you.
I know this
Thank you,
question
Laura.
came up
And it's
fairly
good to see
recently.
you
and I
back
agree.
on screen.
It's nice to see you all too. While I've got the mic real quick, I'll just say that it's really exciting to see the momentum of all of these conversations. There's a lot going on around related topics, with hemispheric conservation partnerships being made, Aurelio's team kind of helping to match as well. And in the meantime, John doing an amazing job helping to match, as you all are hearing. Talking about wood thrush conservation and the wood thrush work that we're doing at the regional office here, and more conversations on that to come at the chapter meeting, which is happening April 24th through the 26th. That's going to be the spring meeting, which is going to be, excitingly, in conjunction with the board meeting. So Ben should be there. Of course, Dennis and Susan will be part of both of those, and there'll be some overlap. So we're looking forward to continuing these kinds of conversations. And the wood thrush, the modus, the migratory bird explorer, all the things that we've been talking about at this virtual meeting that Susan really organized. Thank you, Susan, for all the work you did putting these together. I just wanted to thank you all for participating in this and continuing the conversations. There's a lot more to come. And secondly, the other thing I wanted to say was, when Dennis shared his new partnership with the Costa Rica organization, he also just shared with me that they're going to be doing some exciting programming in the next couple of weeks. I will send that to all the chapter leaders later today. Invitations to the virtual meetings. They're going to be having a presentation on the night of the 24th, I believe, as their public program with the Costa Rica organization. And then the next morning, the morning of the 25th at 8 a.m., they will be doing a virtual Zoom with the same organization for live bird banding demo taking place in Costa Rica for people to see here at 8 a.m. So I'm excited about that timing. I hope I'm going to be able to hop on that morning one, because my kiddo will be on the bus at that time. So I will share that with everybody. Dennis has invited all the chapter leaders to that, so I'll be sharing that later today. And
Yeah,
I'll share it with the board too, if you'd like.
Actually, anybody that wants to hop on those programs, welcome to. Also, next week on Wednesday the 19th, Alicia Brunner from Audubon is going to be doing a program on the migratory bird tracking program, which will involve MODIS and GPS and light sensors and all the different ways that birds can be tracked, and the importance of that to the bird conservation work that we're doing. And go to,
Where is the link for that? Dennis, where is that?
uh,
I put it in the chat just now, but I will send that along because I have Dennis's whole slew of programs that are coming.
yeah, and if you get bored with the Americas on the evening of the 25th, we have a program on birding in Italy.
Nice. Thank you.
If I can just
Yep.
add one thing to Dennis's program as well, there's an interesting connection that Connecticut folks may be more in tune with. Judy Richardson, who runs the banding program for Connecticut Audubon's Fairchild, actually is a neighbor and does banding down at the Finca Canteros. So there's another Connecticut connection in that whole project.
Beautiful. I'm just going to post a quick another announcement at the bottom here. For those who presented slides today, if you can copy me, like just send me a PDF version of that for the slide deck so that I can post it when I do the recording. I'll post those resources as well for people. Also, just want to mention that Saturday is the recording from the Bird Migration Explorer program tomorrow at 3 p.m. With Chad Whitco from the national office. And then Monday evening, we're going to do the recording of this presentation and a live discussion with the attendees who are there at that point. And what I will do is list any questions for any of the presenters and email them out to people for response. And I'll post those afterwards. So if we can't answer it within the group that we have on Monday night, we'll make sure to get that information out for answers. And then also for any people who are here on the window collision chapter report, if you haven't yet submitted the data for the work that you did this year, I left the link for that for you to go ahead and do that as soon as you can. And that's it. And I thank you, the presenters, our chapter leaders. Like, one of the things I love is chapter to chapter sharing. I think that is where we get so much value from each other and support for each other. And I think I'm just very grateful that people are so willing to share their expertise and their time and their experiences. I think it helps a lot. And to our attendees, thanks for coming out and spending an hour or so of your time. We appreciate it. So until then, I think we'll go ahead and end it up. So thank you again.
Thank you for
you, Sal.
organizing.
All right.
Good job, Susan.
Al.
Nice work,
Susan.
everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Have a
Weekend.
great weekend.
Yeah.